Welcome to the Aussie Game podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. We're back for another week, Mopper, day late, unfortunately, but what it did give us was another day of Aussies in action, in particular overseas. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Let's go around the grounds, and also we've got the Socceroos to cover off tonight, so lots to talk about. There's plenty of Aussies in action, and welcome to all the viewers, and we'll give you the best wrap that we possibly can. Why don't we just start with the Socceroos squad, my friend?
Yeah, sounds good, mate. Let's go through position by position. It was quite an interesting selection by Tony Popovic, to say the least. Let's look through the keepers to start with. We've got Patrick Beach, Paul Izzo, and Matty Ryan. I'm sure we all expected to see Paul Izzo and Matty Ryan, but what did you make of Patrick Beach coming into the squad?
Yeah, look, I think it's fantastic recognition for his work that he's been doing in Asia and Melbourne City. And look, if it's the opportunity to test it out, as I said, it's last window of the year, who are you going to drop to allow Patrick Beach to come into the squad? And I think the obvious answer is Joe Gauci, because Izzo has started, Ryan started in the campaigns. Joe Gauci hasn't started really since the World Cup qualifying earlier on in the campaign. So I think Joe Gauci was just the obvious choice to, I think, just give that extra competition to say that I think we know the three that are going, but just to give that extra bit of competition to say every spot's still up for grabs and Beach is the next in line with the future. So I think it's an obvious choice, but realistically, I know the amount of changes that have been made, but there's still that core element in there that's been in it from Popper from day one.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can doubt that Patrick Beach deserves a look in the way that he has been playing, in particular at the start of this season, as you said, both in the A-League and in the ACL elite competition. In the last week, in particular, he's been absolutely fantastic. Popper did say in his interview when he was questioned about Patrick Beach and where Joe Gauci's at, he actually did say that he's in front of the other keepers at the moment. So that was a very interesting statement from Popovic to make that call. But look, Joe Gauci, and you said this when he moved to Port Vale, that it's just a level too low, I think. And look, Patrick Beach is doing anything. Hard to doubt what he's doing at the moment, and he certainly deserves a look in at the very least.
Yeah, look, it just increases the level of competition and keeps everyone on their toes again. Like Matty Ryan had to wait while, Izzo played, and, we all questioned that. And then Ryan come back, and then, he was back in the side against America. And, Patrick Beach, like I said, Asian Champions League, competing week to week, 2 games a week, some of the weeks. And he's been in great form, and it's definitely, well, we did say he'd be our 4th choice keeper if we had to pick one. And I think Popper's just reminding everyone that, that there's still plenty of competition. And I think that's the message in every one of his squads when he starts to pick some of these players. But I still think there's a core element there, and I think we know that Izzo and Ryan are probably the 1 and 2 at the moment. And you're right about Joe Gauci. It was a risk going to Port Vale with the low level, but he had to make a decision to play. At least he's playing.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think Gauci's he's just had been put in a situation there where, unfortunately, he's got a couple of great keepers around him that are both playing and in form as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's a decision he's made now, and he just needs to make the best of what he can at Port Vale for the rest of the season. All right, let's have a look at the defenders, mate. Cam Burgess and Milos Steganek, obviously, we expect them to come in. Callum Elder is the next one on the team sheet, a player that you and I spoke of last time we recorded that we wanted to see in the Socceroos squad, and he's even picked up an assist from a corner on the weekend for Derby, just to show another attribute. I think this is the right time to call up Callum Elder, particularly with the injuries we got at left back.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He had his 1 cap back in 2021, I believe, and it was the opportunity and the window presented himself with the injuries that we had, obviously with Bayer, Italiano, Boss, Casey Boss not playing for Maine, so it was his perfect timing, and it's well deserved. He's been a core contributor in the championship for probably 6 or 7 years now, and has scoring goals. He scored that great couple of free kicks early in the year and a couple of assists. He always pops up. And like we said, most importantly, he plays the same system. So he'll fit in like a glove there. And I think it's great reward for his efforts in the championship. And it's finally been recognised.
Next is Jason Garrier, who has had limited game time in Japan, but we know that he's a player that Popovich likes to rely on. Jack Iredale has been consistent for Hibernian this season, has been called up to the Socceroos squad before, but hasn't been given a cap as yet. Lewis Miller, obviously, we expect him on the right. The next one, James Overy, he was one that we also called for last time we recorded, mate. And what an opportunity this is for I believe he turned 18 today. But yeah, obviously on the books of Manchester United and training pretty regularly with the first team. But what an opportunity for him to come into the camp and for Popovich to see what he's got.
Yeah, happy birthday. And it was great to see him in the under 20s World Cup. He talked about how important the playing for the Socceroos and the under 20s was. It's great recognition again for being at a high standard club. Obviously, he's playing the level below though Man U, but training with the first team, which is fantastic. And it's just it's just a perfect window to try and get him immersed in part of this squad. It's just perfect timing. It's a friendly, it's a window that we've got open, and we know the injuries that we've got, so it's perfect timing for him to try him, and it's great to see him on the radar. And Popper's picked him up, and I think he'll get a lot out of this camp.
Popovich mentioned also in the press conference about how he tracked him in that under 20s World Cup and how impressed he was after not missing out in the first game, coming in at left back for the second game, and then having the versatility to go play at right back in the third game. So he was very impressed with him and obviously been tracking him at Manchester United ever since. So look, mate, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets some minutes in this window, just with, and we've seen it before with Jacob Italiano, the way that he came in and trained the house down and got a shot. So particularly against Venezuela, who are going to be the weaker of the two teams we play, he could very well get some minutes in that game.
Yeah, the left wing back spots and the right wing back spots are definitely there, and we might even see Kai Rolls be put in the middle with no Sicardi. So it definitely gives us an opportunity to play both of them, Elder and Overy, or whether it's Elder or Miller or vice versa. So yeah, I think it's just fantastic that we get to see a couple more players in, and but for the rest of them, Kai Truan's already been around the squad. He's been a part of Popper's squad before in the World Cup qualifiers. Not playing, but in the squad itself, traveling to Saudi Arabia and Japan. He's had a fantastic A-League start and fantastic Asian Champions League start. So Kai Truman, A-League players, Popper told them he needed to wait to this window because so they can get some game time and get up to speed. He's delivered on that promise. It was just a matter of how many A-League players were going to come in, but I think we've got the right mix, and I think it's just great that he gets in the squad because he's been playing great for Melbourne City and gives it an opportunity with those injuries to try to push his claims.
Yeah, I thought Kai Truan, him playing as a defensive midfielder for Melbourne City, I thought that might count against him for the Socceroos, but we saw in the Melbourne Derby on the weekend where he started in the centre of defence there, but then pushed into midfield in the second half. So great versatility from Kai Truan, and I'm sure that Popovich would have that on his mind as
I'll
well,
tell
being
you,
able to move him around as needed.
yeah. I'll tell you what, too, it'd be interesting. Lewis Miller's been playing where Sicardi normally plays for the Socceroos. So it'd be interesting with Sicardi out, too, whether Lewis Miller actually plays a right wing back and he just uses the other players where he's got the opportunity. Because Lewis Miller has played in that back three for Blackburn on that right hand side. So again, it might just bring him into that spot or he might keep him out there wide. So he might test that, but Gary is there as well. But 2 games to test it out and go either way.
Yeah, I think, as you said, with Sicari's injury, he does have the opportunity to shuffle things around a little bit, and he does have some cover there on the left in terms of obviously Burgess, Rolls, Idale, but then on the right, yeah, you're right, he's got Guerriero and then Miller as well, or even can slide Teganek out there as well. So yeah, plenty of options there. Yeah, Kai Rolls is the other one that makes up the defenders being picked for Tony Popovich. Let's go to the midfielders, mate. names we expected. Max Ballard has continued his form ever since he got his call up. Cam Devlin's been on fire at Hearts. Jackson Irvine and Riley McGree. So I know that you were a bit hesitant on bringing these guys into the squad, but Tony Popovic has introduced them. He made the point about Jackson Irvine in the press conference that he hasn't seen him since March, so it might be a matter of just seeing him and getting him back into the mix of the squad.
Yeah, my concerns were the travel, whether we wanted to really make him travel that far, but we've got our two blue chip midfielders back. The confidence I have now with Riley McGree starting for Borough on the weekend makes me feel a
Yeah.
little bit more comfortable that Borough thinks he's right, but they're just early back in their return. So I don't know if we're going to see too much of them, but they are our two blue chip midfielders. They both can play 10, 6, or 8. So I think, and even McGree's shown that he can play in behind. So yeah, we've seen these two. They're stalwarts of the Socceroos. They're high blue chip talents, and they will be in the squad no matter what for the World Cup. And like you said, I think it's just good to see them. But I'm sure Popper does have reservations about how much he uses them because I'm sure his clubs have probably had that conversation with him already.
Yeah, he mentioned that Irvine's played the most he's played is 25 minutes, so I wouldn't expect him to get more than maybe 10 or 15 off the bench at some point. And I just said McGree started for the first time in a long time the other day. He got 60 minutes, so maybe no more than a half of football for him. You would think, like as you said, I think it's a responsibility of Popovic not to push them too far, knowing that they're going back to their clubs and they're such important players for their clubs as well.
Absolutely. And we've got obviously Aidan O'Neill, Connor Metcalf, which we've seen through all the campaigns, and the young Paul Ocon Engsler, which we've been looking forward to. He did get picked in Popper's previous squads back early in the year, but didn't get game time. Starred for the under 20s, great leader, and is really playing well for Sydney FC. A really great addition, and again, a perfect window to bring in someone from the A League and the under 20s like we've seen with Overy.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. He's been playing pretty well for Sydney FC. He provided a great assist on the weekend just gone. And as we've said before, he offers a quite a different profile to many of the other midfielders. So I'm sure that Popovic will be keen to get him in and have a closer look at him and seeing what he can do in this environment. So yeah, again, wouldn't be surprised if he's a surprise selection for one of the games as well, just to offer something a little bit different.
Definitely, definitely. And over the forwards, do you want to wrap the forwards up?
Yeah, so we've got Martin Boyle, who's a pretty consistent pick in these squads. Nick D'Agostino was in the last window and started that game against USA. Craig Goodwin comes in after a bit of time, but he's been very good for Adelaide to start the season. I know you're impressed in particular with his quality of crosses and set pieces, which I think could be a vital weapon for us.
Yeah, definitely. Like we said, we've seen Boyle. He's been through the campaign. D'Agostino was in the last squad. Still not getting much game time though, so interesting him positioning and retaining his spot. I know there's a few question marks over that one. Like Craig Goodwin, the A League's back. He's fit and ready to go again. Stalwart in the soccer is for a long time. Adds great experience. Irakunda, we all know, has been the stalwart of this squad, but and Mohamed Toure, but interesting selections. And we always throw up a couple, doesn't he, Popper, to extend the olive branch. And this time we've got Denny Juric and Al Hassan Toure. What do you think of those two selections? They're probably the boldest of Popper's picks.
Yeah, Danny Juric, I know a few people have been making a point about his goal scoring form over the last probably 12 months or so, saying that he should be in consideration. Popper said in the press conference that he was he watched him when he was playing in Slovenia, understanding that that was quite a low level, but he was scoring a lot of goals there. And since then, he's moved to Poland. But he said although the goals haven't been happening quite as much, he's very impressed with the power that he has. So I wonder if that's a bit of a profile thing that he's looking for. I mean, Danny Juric, but he was certainly adamant that he had deserved his call up to this Socceroos squad. And then Al Hassan Toure obviously had the hat trick, not last weekend, but the weekend before against the Newcastle Jets, which a lot of people thought kind of propelled him into this squad. But Popovich mentioned again his profile, that speed, that power, having him in the squad. So he admitted that his preseason wasn't the best, but he was, certainly liked bits and pieces of what he saw. He mentioned him almost being like a bit of a streaky type player. So, he'll come in with these moments, but the consistency is probably not quite there yet. So, yeah, interesting his justification for those two selections.
Yeah, I think if you look overall, and obviously a lot's been made of the 11 changes, but to me, two blue chip midfielders were always going to be in the World Cup squad, which was McGree and Irvine. That's, take out them two, that's nine. And then you go probably, four injuries from last squad. So, and then the A-League players were always going to get their opportunity in this window. So it was just a matter of how many, and it's five. So they're the five that we've seen get their opportunity. And well deserved and some plaudits for them and congratulations. And it's up to them to obviously show their worth. And I think Popper's just probably saying with Toure, if you can blast out a couple of good games, then the opportunity is there to join along in the squad and it just expand it for what it's worth. And I think that's what Popper's done in every window, hasn't he? He's picked two or three people that we wouldn't probably have thought of just to expand that depth and to see what's out there. And this is a window for them. And I guess that's what he's probably had in mind. He just wanted to see a bit of A-League, which he has in the last month.
Yeah, I saw a stat come out during the week that including this squad, he's cast the net wide to 62 players. I think that was the number. It was definitely in the 60s
Yep.
altogether. So he's certainly searching far and wide for his combinations.
What about on a personal front from yourself? I know I've probably got two that I'm probably disappointed about. I'm disappointed for Sapsford. I think he deserved an opportunity in one of these campaigns. And probably the other disappointment for me in this window especially is the loss of Hayden Matthews, considering he's just started a couple of games for Portsmouth. With those injuries in defence, I'm extremely surprised Hayden Matthews did not get another opportunity in the squad because I thought this was his moment to probably start.
Yeah, it's a good point because a lot of people are saying, well, maybe he's a lock for the squad already. I'm not so sure about that. And as you said, I think this is his chance because he's been in a lot of squads and barely played. So this was because he would slot straight into that Zaccardi position, really. So this was his chance to come in and do that. So definitely agree with you on Hayden Matthews. Again, Popovich was asked about Sapsford in the press conference, said that he's on his radar, said he was unfortunate for the last window to get that injury just before. But yeah, probably didn't sound all that convincing about Sapsford, which is disappointing given his form. But when you look at some of the other attackers that are brought in, I thought that Sapsford and potentially even Bodic, throw him in there as well. Unlucky to miss his squad because this was probably the chance for them to get some minutes and show Popovich what they could do.
Maybe they're just the future, yeah, and they're like first season in Europe, and I think Popper maybe want to see a bit more of them. But anyway, they're the decisions to be made, and congratulations to all members that have made this Socceroos side, and I'm just super excited to see Riley McGree and Jackson Irvine back in the squad. It's exciting times to get those two experienced players back, and I think they'll offer a lot considering the quality that we have lost due to injury.
Yeah, definitely, mate. So that first game against Venezuela is this Saturday. So we'll see how they line up. It should be very interesting whether Popovich goes for a bit of a stock standard approach or whether he throws a few curveballs in there for the starting lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to the games and yeah, seeing our progress and seeing some new players. Hopefully get some new caps, new Socceroo caps.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. All right, mate. Let's do a wrap of our Aussies playing overseas. Let's start in the championship with Nestori Kunda back in the starting lineup for Watford, playing 61 minutes in their 1-1 draw with Bristol City. Good to see him back in the starting lineup with that change of manager, and hopefully that continues after the international break for Kunda.
Yeah, he had one opportunity there too. He ghosted in at far post from a corner and nearly scored. The ball was at such a difficult height. He just didn't know where to hit it. But yeah, he looked good in the game, and I think was just trying to work out on that round that left-hand side and looked sharp on the ball and looked pretty strong. And it was just good to see him back in there and getting a test out. It's great to see him in the lineup.
Next up is the clash between Blackburn and Derby. We mentioned this might have a few fireworks in it, but Callum Elder, as we mentioned before, celebrated his Socceroos call up with an assist in Derby's 2-1 win over Blackburn. Lewis Miller also plays 90 minutes for Blackburn. So that's 5 wins in a row now for Callum Elder's Derby. They were right down in the relegation zone, and I think they're about 4 points off third, but also 4 points off 16th in the championship.
Wow.
So I'm sitting right in the middle of that mix. It's very funny because I looked at it, I thought, oh, maybe they're higher up the table. I'm like, well, they're actually there, but there's so many teams in between them. That's why they're not so high up. But incredibly tight the championship this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, well done to both players. Over in Middlesbrough, exciting times. They start for our blue chip midfielder, Riley McGree. He got 60 minutes the other day and 64 minutes off the bench for Sam Silvera as well in Borough's 2-1 win over Birmingham City. So a great result. A bit of controversy over there with their coach, Rob Edwards, or former coach Rob Edwards, wasn't in the dugout as the club made the decision not to have him in there with rumours he'll be taking the vacant job at Wolves, which looks sealed.
Oh, that's not confirmed yet? I haven't seen
Um,
anything.
I'm pretty sure it's confirmed, but not officially confirmed.
Yeah, Sammy Silvera, it's interesting, wasn't he? Because he's done that a few times this season. Started on the bench, but come on early as an injury replacement, almost like the Swiss Army knife. Just pop him anywhere and he'll do a job for you.
Yeah, no, it's good to see. He's had a good season there. After not much game time last year, and just super excited to see Riley McGree back in the 10 for Borough and another good win as they cement their spot in the top three.
What about Cam Burgess at Swansea? What a day for him. 2 own goals as Swansea go down 4-1 to his former club, Ipswich Town. I saw him even pop something up on social media just to basically say, he hears all the noise going on. I think there were a few remarks about his performance, but and then all the comments, or just about all the comments after it, saying, not your fault, Cam. You just wrong place, wrong time, type thing. But he's been very good this season for Swansea. Just it was always going to happen, against your former club. These types of things, isn't it?
Oh, it's just a shame for him, but that's football, isn't it? And yeah, he's coming up against one of his old sides, and couldn't get the win, an unfortunate performance. But sometimes Lady Luck doesn't go your way. But he's been Mr. Consistent for Swansea and has performed consistent all the way through. And it does drop Swansea back down the bottom end of the table, but as you said, it's tight, and I'm sure they'll be fine and recover.
All right, let's go to the WSL, mate. A big all Aussie clash between Arsenal and Chelsea, with the result being a 1-1 draw. 90 minutes for Steph Catley. Caitlin Ford played 78 minutes, and Kyra Cooney-Cross got 19 minutes off the bench. On the Chelsea side of things, Lucy Bronze started over Ellie Carpenter, with Carpenter playing the last 29 minutes, and Sam Kerr also got 18 minutes off the bench. So interesting with that Carpenter Bronze position, isn't it? Like who's gonna end up getting it, or maybe it's just gonna chop and change all season.
Well, Lucy Bronze has been out injured for a long time, and finally makes her return to fitness. But she's a world superstar, one of the best players in the world in a time. But I think succession planning, Chelsea with obviously Bronze getting on in her age, and this is the first real test and lesson for Carpenter. But again, there's plenty of games there in Champions League, Cup games, so I think they'll rotate it through. It was going to happen. It was inevitable. I said when she went there that Lucy Bronze is in that position, so she must have known when she went over that this was going to be the succession plan. It was just the fact that Bronze obviously was injured early on in the year, and Carpenter done the professional thing, done a great job, and her form's been fantastic. And we know she's the heir to that right wing back spot for Chelsea. So I'm not too concerned as there's so much football to play over in that Super League, especially with Chelsea with the amount of games that they have to play.
Yep, with that result, actually, Chelsea, who were leading, dropped down to second with Manchester City jumping above them. But just to finish the Arsenal side of things, I just wanted to say congratulations to Steph Catley, who was nominated for the best women's 11. So you can actually cast your vote for Steph to be part of that side on the FIFA website. So encourage everyone to get on there and see if we can get Steph Catley into that best 11.
More
That'd
great
be fantastic.
recognition, yeah, for Steph. Fantastic stalwart she is. What a great leader. Good luck for her in that
Yep.
best 11, and get out and vote, everybody.
Let's go to West Ham, who drew with Leicester 1-1. So all Aussie battle, Katrina Gorry and Ben Egmont started for their respective sides. West Ham still to get a win and still bottom of the table. So, yeah, not having the best season, Katrina Gorry's side at all. Brighton's Charlie Rule, they got a late draw, 1-1 with Liverpool, with Charlie Rule continuing to start. So fantastic to see her given those minutes under Dario Vidicic. And then this morning's game, London City, they beat Spurs 4-2. Lana Kennedy got a few minutes off the bench. Claire Hunt plays a full game for Spurs. Charlie Grant was an unused sub, and I'd actually had a look at her minutes this season. She's played just 85 minutes this entire season, and interesting, she's often been, the backup for Ellie Carpenter and even being able to play in that left. But is she starting to drop down the pecking order a bit with her lack of minutes at Spurs?
I think this has been a story throughout her career, trying to progress in Europe. I think she needs to go find a club and a level where she can start. I think it's stopping her progression, her development. Obviously, the training's high level, but she needs more game time. Absolutely, you've made a very good point there. And look, I think how how could you not be behind Carpenter? She's out blue chip right back, right wing back, whichever way you play her, and it's always going to be hard for Charlie Grant. But she's versatile, Charlie Grant. She's played on both sides as well. So I just think I don't know. Like I think she needs to go to a club with like I don't know. I'm going to put it out there, maybe Sweden and stuff like that, where some of the other girls are having a better time playing every week in week out. Because if she keeps being a backup, she's not going to develop her football to the level that she needs to.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that she was at Sweden before she went to Spurs as well. So yeah, as you said, potentially a move back there just to reset a little bit. But yeah, we did see Torpy obviously play in the most recent games against Wales and England in that right back spot. So yeah, I just think that maybe a move away from Spurs, because it's not just the start of this season; it was last season as well, where she was getting very
100%.
little game time.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I'm sure it'd be very frustrating for her. But yes, I know it's difficult for the professionals. They want to be at certain places, but if you want to play football and continue to develop, she's going to have to play first team football at a good enough level. She's good enough, just needs to find the right balance.
Yep. Just finishing off our WSL wrap, Claire Wheeler, she played 90 minutes in Everton's 2-1 loss to Manchester City. And as I said, Manchester City with that win go top of the WSL for now. Let's jump down to League One, mate. A few players in action for our Aussies. Alex Robertson continues to get minutes for Cardiff City, playing 67 minutes in their shock 3-1 loss to Blackpool. So what do you reckon of Robertson not making the Socceroos squad, mate?
Oh, I think it was inevitable. I just think last window was an opportunity to branch out and just see where he's at, get the relationship right, mix in with the squad, but I don't think really we can say that he should be in the Socceroos squad because if you look at the likes of Cam Devlin and Max Ballard, they're playing every week, week in, week out at a good level, a lot higher than where League One is, and you can't justify that above the talents of those two. And then now you've got Riley McGree, Jackson Irvine, our two premium blue chip midfielders for the last probably almost 10 years. How can you try to fit him in? Like Aidan O'Neill's playing every week and he's in the major league playoffs and again has been a stalwart. It'd be very hard to break into that midfield. He's only young. Olive branched out there last time to you're still being in the mix, you're still being recognised, and I think that's why the whole 62 numbers come up because Popper wants that. He wants that competition, wants to make sure everyone doesn't feel safe and that everyone's got an opportunity. And I think that's what Robertson's been told. He's got an opportunity. So go and play football and keep developing. And at some stage throughout your Socceroos career, you'll get more opportunities. So I don't think anyone would sit back and go, well, that not being in their squad's not going to be justified, because if you look at it, I think he was given a great opportunity last time just to be part of it.
And look, to be honest, he was completely out of the picture before that, so not even under consideration for many people. And throw into the mix, Paddy Yazbek, not in this squad as well, but potentially because of his MLS playoff commitments as well. But let's continue on with League One, mate. Absolutely miserable day for Joe Gauci. As Port Vale go down 4-0. Gauci did make 6 saves in this one, so probably hard to. I watched the highlights. Not much you could do about any of the goals. Probably I think the first one is a little bit at fault, but other than that, yeah, just under the pump all game by the sounds of it.
Yep, and he'll be disappointed he's not in that squad, but I'm sure Popper's had that conversation on the reasons why. And yeah, he's starting every week, and I'm sure he'll bounce back. And yeah, he's just with a squad at the moment that he's going to be making a lot of saves for, as you can see with that result. Sorry,
Rafael Burgos Rodriguez plays 90 minutes in Wigan's 1-1 draw with Exeter. So he's on loan there from Coventry. So good to see him getting some consistent minutes down at Wigan. All right, let's go to Scotland, mate. Aberdeen, 15 minutes for Nicholas Milanovic as Aberdeen draw 0-0 with AEK Larnaca in Europa Conference League. They're a Cypriot club. I looked up, mate. I've never heard of them before. I'm learning about all these clubs, mate, as we kind of trundle through Europe. In the league, Aberdeen drew 1-1 with Motherwell, Stamatopoulos and Kotrumbis starting for Motherwell. No minutes on the Aberdeen side, with Yengi being an unused sub. Speaking of his brother, Teddy Yengi played 90 minutes in Livingston's 1-1 draw with Falkirk, but they remained last after 12 games. Unfortunately, St Mirren, they lost 3-0 to Hibernian. So Hibs remained third in Scotland after that 3-0 win over St Mirren. Jack Idle played 90 minutes and Martin Boyle played 69 minutes. And Keanu Bacchus played 90 for St Mirren. And a bit of a slip for Cam Devlin at Hearts, mate.
Yeah, they remain undefeated though, but draw 1-1 with Zach Sabsford's Dundee United. They're hard to beat, Dundee United. They've had a few draws. The Aussie boys both played a full game but Hearts' lead at the top has been cut down to 7, and Celtic have a game in hand. But yeah, still a lot to play for. They're still undefeated, Hearts, and yeah, just couldn't get past Dundee United. But that's probably not the first club that struggled to battle with Dundee United. They put up a fight in nearly every contest.
And what about Matty Ryan in Spain, mate?
Well, the poor bloke, he's getting his work cut out, isn't he? He made 8 saves in Levane's 3-1 loss to Atletico Madrid. What coming up against these squads, what a great experience. It's awesome, top level football, isn't it? But yeah, they slipped down to, I think they're just outside the relegation zone now after last couple of tough losses. But he made as many saves as he could, mate. Atletico Madrid way too classy. But again, he's between the sticks, and he is really in good form, which is what we need for the Socceroos. All
Yeah, I
right,
think they're
over
going to be
Nick.
floating around that relegation most of the
Oh,
season, mate. But,
mate, Valencia's in there. Like, there's just
oh, right.
yeah, it is tough down there. There's a lot of good clubs. It's La Liga. It's got some depth, my friend. And Italy, we go over to the girls. Roma and Werner Heatley unfortunately set off in the 23rd minute, and Roma lost 5-2 to Fiorentina. That's the first drop points for Roma this season. For Sassuolo, we had Jessica Nash play 90 minutes in a 2-all thriller with Inter Milan, and Como 77 minutes for Alex Chidiac in Como's 4-2 win. So Alex Chidiac gets the win for the girls over there, but a tough loss to Werner Heatley with a red card, and Nash with the draw. Over in Netherlands, we go to Heracles. They're on fire, Heracles. Adam Hrustic picks up another assist as they continue their revival with a 2-1 win over Excelsior and keep pushing up the table, which is good news for Hrustic's side. He didn't get picked, though, in the Socceroos.
Another one on the Socceroos squad, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
And
but again, been around the squad and camp for a while, so it'd be interesting what happens there, especially with McGree and Irvine back. He'd be right on the fringes, you'd say. What are your thoughts on that, Rustic? Just it's just
I've said before, mate, when he's in form, I think he's one of our best. The fact that he's in form and his team is now winning, unless Popovich has just said, have a rest for this one. I want to have a look at a few different ones.
Could be.
But I'm a bit shocked that he's not in the squad, actually.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's hard when you bring Irvine and McGree back, isn't it? And they've obviously rewarded the previous midfields. It's pretty been stable in there with O'Neill, Metcalf, Maxi Ballard. So and Devlin deserves the opportunity from Hart. So hopefully we get to see Devlin as well. So anyway, I'm sure Hrustic would be stoked with his form and continue to push on for Arkles. With NAC Breda, Max Ballard plays another 90 minutes in Breda's 2-1 loss to Volendam, leaving them just 3 points from the relegation zone. So it's a bit dangerous times over there. ADO Den Haag beat Roda 4-0 as we drop down to the next level down in the Dutch football. But it's another win for Den Haag, another goal from Cam Pepion as well, 2-2, 3-5, 4-7, 7 points clear with a game in hand, 12 wins in a row. They are flying. He could probably be a little bit disappointed that he didn't get looked at, but Cam Pepion's certainly making a good fist of it. And, if they get promotion, which looks like they will this year, he'll be in the Dutch First Division and no better chance to push your case in the top league. Josh Nisbet, who plays for Roda, unfortunately looked like one of Roda's best in a rough day for his team, as Den Haag was just way too good. Over in
All right,
Germany,
let's go to
yes,
Germany, mate. St. Pauli, Conor Metcalf gets his first start of the season, playing 82 minutes, providing an assist, and St. Pauli's 2-1 loss to Freiburg. And then on the women's side, Eintracht Frankfurt, a first league start for Haley Razzo as well in Eintracht Frankfurt's big 3-2 win over Wolfsburg. Both of those teams competing right at the top of the Bundesliga for the women. And then Jamila Rankin has a very good game, but her Hoffenheim lost 1-0 in the league, unfortunately. And over in Norway, exciting times. Viking closing in on the title in Norway, leading the way with 2 games to go. Very pleased to see Gianni Stensness playing 90 minutes and Nick D'Agostino got 12 minutes off the bench. So, mate, they're closing in on that title. They're already wrapped up the Champions League qualification, but 2 games to go, down to the wire.
it could be the second Australian to win a championship, and Muscat could be the third. So great to see the Aussies winning silverware over there, but don't want to mock it. Vikings still got 2 games to go, but in the box seat. Denmark Randers, we've got Toure brothers both start. Oh, love to see the young Toure start as well. That's fantastic. Mohammed playing 90 minutes and Musa playing 78. Paul Izzo also played in goals, but unfortunately went down to a tough opponent, 2-0 over Midtjylland, who I believe beat Celtic during the week as well. So they've had a very successful week over there. But great to see all 3 Aussies starting for Randers.
Big news out of Sweden, mate. Ivy Luik, her BK Häcken secured the title in Sweden, winning 2-0. So with a game in hand, so plenty of positivity going through Ivy Luik. As you mentioned last week, 40 years old, has come through a bit of adversity in her career, but what a story that is, and what a success she has been. So yeah, congratulations to Ivy Luik for wrapping up the Swedish title.
Oh, it's the story of the week. The Matilda capped 45 times. What a fantastic story. She's been all around the world and had a great career and gets a title at the age of 40. I want to know whether she's playing on. So if she is listening, drop us a line. Is she going to kick on? What a fantastic effort. A first Australian title there for the year. What a great outcome for her. So well done.
Elsewhere in Sweden, 78 minutes for Courtney Nevin in Malmo's 4-0 win. They're going to finish third and be in the Champions League qualification. So fantastic for Courtney Nevin that she's going to get some extra football next year. Well, definitely, hopefully anyway. Vichko GIK, 2 assists in 2 games now for Daniela Galic, but her side go down 2-1. Probably as we were talking about with Charlie Grant, this kind of level is probably best for this time of her career, but we'll see what happens for the remaining time that she has with Spurs. Let's duck over to Switzerland, mate. Another start for Liam Chipperfield, who plays 72 minutes. The most fouled player, as Sion threw away a 2-0 lead to draw 2-2, but they're still going okay over in Switzerland. And then Danny Juric, who obviously got called up to the Socceroos squad, played first half in his side's 1-1 draw. Almost finished in Europe, mate. The last one is Garan Quoll getting 12 minutes off the bench in Sparta Prague's 2-2 draw over in the Czech Republic. So, yeah, plenty of Aussies in action over in Europe. Let's finish off with a couple more countries. So, Japan, Arthur Papas' Cesaro Osaka, they won 4-1, consolidating 10th spot, and relegated Jason Guerrier got 57 minutes as his team Nagata get thumped 5-2. So some decision making for Jason Guerrier, who hasn't probably had the best time of it in Japan since leaving Melbourne Victory. So I wonder if he's going to drop down to J2 or whether he's going to look for a move away.
Probably return the A League. I think it's probably the smart option, don't you think? I like
Well,
the
yeah.
the window's going to be open for him. We're finishing in November. Can A League sign? When can they sign? In January again, or I'll have to
Yeah, I'd say it's
find that
January
out.
again. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it'd be silly not to lead up to a World Cup by playing up till May. So or April, May is it that they finish? Just yeah,
I think that the J League are actually, because they're aligning now to the European competition. So I think they're doing like a little mini competition up until probably May or something like that. And then from that point on, they're going to start post World Cup. So there's a bit of a mixed up thing they're doing just to align it better for
okay.
the European calendar.
A question for you then: J League 2 or A League? Which one would you prefer?
I think it makes sense for him to come back to the A League, but again, like he's probably wanting to come back to Melbourne Victory because that's the club he's been playing for. But do they need a right-sided player? Like they've got a little bit of depth there now, so I'm sure Melbourne Victory fans would love to have him back. But I think it's probably a better level for him to come back and play in the A League, and particularly if he has hopes of going to the World Cup.
Definitely, yeah, because he's going to need to find something and sustain that form because he'd definitely be on the edge of selection, wouldn't he, with the central defenders there? I think there's one or two spots up for grabs in that final World Cup squad. All right, let's go to the USA. MLS, Charlotte lose 3-1 to New York City. Aiden O'Neill plays 90 minutes, has a 98% passing accuracy. Please bring that for the Socceroos, my
He
friend.
was he was running at 100% like until
Wow.
about the last 10 minutes of the game. I was tracking it. It was unbelievable.
Oh, what a great performance! And Archie Goodwin got some game time too, and he got an assist for Charlotte's only goal in 29 minutes off the bench. So that was good news for Archie Goodwin, even though his side lost 3-1. So that's season over for Charlotte, and New York City moves on in the playoffs. And then, as we seen on Sunday, Nashville got thumped by Inter Miami 4-0. Yazbek plays first half, but obviously they chased the game and he come off. And unfortunately, 4-0 loss sees Nashville exit the Major League Soccer finals.
I saw the stats for Messi against Nashville. Obviously, he's played these 3 games and then the one before that. That like it was something like 10 goals in the 4 games and 2 assists or something ridiculous. Like it just shows of what level that player is still at. Unbelievable.
is one of the best that we've ever seen. All right, let's go to the ladies in the National Women's Soccer League. Portland Thorns, so Mackenzie Arnold and Torpy progressed to the NWSL playoff semi-finals, which is awesome news, with a 1-0 extra time win over San Diego Wave. So Torpy's performance was 61 minutes, 6 tackles, 4 clearances, 3 recoveries, and Arnold played 120 minutes, clean sheet, 4 saves, 57 touches. That would be impressive, Joe, and a fantastic performance with the clean sheet. So well done to Portland. Excellent news as they progress to the semi-final.
All right, mate. That's done us for our overseas wrap. Let's move on to the A League because it was a busy weekend in the A League men's competition. Let's start with Friday night when Adelaide United beat the Wanderers 2-0. Luka Ivanovic opened the scoring. Very nice goal. Latched onto a cross from Dylan Paredes before angling it across his body to get the ball home. And then Ivanovic turned provider when his low cross found Craig Goodwin at the far post, scoring his first goal since returning to the A-League. So Adelaide so far this season have 2 home wins and 2 away losses. So definitely going to look to have some strong home form, and I'm sure they'll like to improve their away form. Although they have had a couple of tough games away from home, but they look pretty impressive on Friday night, mate. When they get into their fluent football, move the ball quickly, they've got plenty of speed in their lineup as well. But yeah, they're performing well so far.
Yep, they're enjoying. They love being at home, don't they? And young team and doing well. And Craig Goodwin, the stalwart in there, finishing off a great move there. Luka Jovanovic certainly played an awesome game, and it was a great ball too that Craig Goodwin got on the end of. That was great setup play. Wanderers in trouble, Chief. 14 shots, only one on target. Can't get that midfield balance right. I definitely agree with that. There's just too much of the same style in there and a lack of creativity. But they did have some great chances in that first half. They should have been 1 or 2 nil up themselves. They missed some great chances. They really bombed that, and they put themselves out of the game. But you did talk about when we did the A-League preview, the number of goal scorers that Western Sydney Wanderers lost last season into this season, and it's certainly having an impact with their equal lowest goals scored this season with only 2 along with Perth. So we do know they lost Sabsford and many others in the preseason, and it's
Yeah,
come back to bite 'em.
Milanovic, Antonsen as well. Yeah, like they lost a lot of goals. Obviously brought in Alu Kuo and brought in Costa Barbarouses, but I just don't think that they're going to provide the same output as those players did. As you mentioned, that midfield balance, I just don't think they're trying to fit Ugarkovic, Belante, and Thurgate, who are all central midfielders, but they're trying to fit them into a 4-4-2, playing one of them out on one of the sides. But I just think for the balance of the team, you just got to make that hard call and leave one of them on the bench because they're just not suited to playing out wide, any of those players. So I just think that, yeah, his strategy is just trying to make things work. Yeah, but I think the goal scoring is going to be a big contributor because as look at that, they're 14 shots total, but only one on target. So it just shows that they're not even getting close to hitting the target and beating the opposition keeper. So yeah, they've got a tough run coming up. I think they've got the Mariners next. So yeah, that's a big game for them now. The Mariners have shown a little bit of form, and you've noted before they make themselves at least competitive and tough to beat. So yeah, it's going to be a tough run, and wouldn't be surprised if Sturgis is under a bit of pressure the way they've started the season.
I still don't think they're in trouble. They're still a very efficient, effective football team. There's still a lot of good talent there. I think you hit the nail on the head. There's just not the right balance to complement that. But I don't think they're too far off. So I still think they'll be a very hard team to break down. And again, those 14 shots, they, and that naturally they should have finished 1 or 2 of them. They should have been in front. But again, Adelaide, when Jovanovic scored, just had the confidence. And then they started trying to play a kind of different style. Western Sydney, that just didn't suit them chasing. And I don't like them chasing because, again, that midfield balance isn't there. So, but I don't think they're in trouble. It's a very tight A-League this year. They'll get plenty of opportunities. I don't think they'll be in the top 5 or 6, that's for sure, the way their style is. But, they'll have to correct that going forward. But I think they'll move up the table, but very slowly. But again, the efficiency of the team just needs that right balance to succeed.
Yeah, I think just on Jovanovic, I think he might be in line for a bit of a breakout season. Obviously, now that Archie Goodwin has left, that striking spot is Jovanovic's to own. Like he chopped and changed a little bit with Goodwin last season, but I think he's really going to take this experience now and run with it. And I think he's in for a big season.
Yeah, absolutely. And just with Craig Goodwin up there with him, just floating off him and then drifting wide, I think that'll allow Ivanovic just to get in those little pockets and channels that he loves, because that's kind of his game style, isn't it? And then in the box with his quick feet. So another young up and coming star for Adelaide on the merging scenes, and we've seen him in the Under-20 World Cup and Asia Cup do well as well. So I think Adelaide's in really good hands with their future, as they always are. And I think they're really achieving, 2 out of 4 is pretty good for them, I think, with the squad that they've got. And I think they can sit back and be happy because, they're competitive in their 2 losses as well. So, but obviously back at home, they certainly enjoyed that.
I think they've got a good balance in their squad too. There's lots of youth, but then sprinkled in are those experienced players. Like you got Goodwin, you got Kiddo, you got Breens, you got the goalkeeper Smiths. They're all in their kind of 30s, but then you got some really young 20s or teenagers around them. So it's a good balance, I think, for those young players to have players to learn from.
Yep, it'd be interesting to see how they go. So we wish both teams well. We move over to Perth, and Perth, long-suffering Perth fans lose 1-0 to Mariners. We weren't sure which way this game would go, but it took a wonder strike from Bailey Brantman to decide this one. Picked up the ball from Girarte, cut inside on his left and curled it perfectly into the far post, giving Matt Sutton no chance. And another Central Coast Academy player starring. And then Andrew Redmayne, Mr. Experience, Mr. Wiggle, makes 4 saves for the Mariners, another outstanding performance. With Storm Roo was the only starting outfield player over 25 in the Mariners side. Wow. And just to get an away win for the Mariners, they're just, to me, they're overachieving. But my word, they're doing themselves proud. And what a great representation for the community. Glory continue, on the other hand, to struggle, and we'll hope to appoint a new permanent manager before travelling away to the Jets after the international break. They must be in a very bad spot at the moment. That would have been a tough pill to swallow, losing at home.
I've heard that they're keeping an eye on Graham Arnold, seeing what happens with his game for Iraq. So
So
that
that's
would be
Friday
an
morning.
interesting appointment.
That's Friday morning. Yeah, I think
Well,
they kick off. I'm pretty sure it's for the World Cup qualification. So, do you think Graham Arnold? Oh, I think Iraq's got a great chance to get through against United Arab Emirates. I'm not sure if they. I think they need to think somewhere else. I'm not
well,
sure about that.
certainly if they lose, that seems to be what they're hoping for. It'd be, I think, a profile like that would be a great appointment for Perth. I'm not sure that Arnold would go, but if they could get him, I think he is the type that could get that team into shape.
He definitely could, but I don't think Arnold's going to come back to the A League. Not now. He's spreading his wings internationally. So yeah, it'd be very interesting. But I think they're pipe dreaming on that one.
Let's just touch on the Mariners quickly. Flying really, like, to start the season, and yeah, it's a long season. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but I don't think many people had them in the top 4 or wherever they're sitting at the moment. So yeah, credit to them, and as you've said before, they're competitive, and you know, they're gonna be young and get stuck in, and they're gonna make mistakes, but at the moment, as you saw, that wonder strike from Brantman's enough to get them over the line, but those players on the field are gonna be learning plenty throughout the
Oh,
season.
I can't believe where they're at. That's outstanding. The turmoil that they had in pre-season, and they've got some major injuries too, is just an absolute credit. The Central Coast, they're just. It's a bit like Adelaide, isn't it? You think that they're going to go into another tough season, but again, what's underneath just keeps coming through, and they just keep delivering. And this is another fantastic story. I just unbelievable Central Coast. What a job they've done. So they must be buzzing.
Let's not forget too, it's still interim manager in Warren Moon, so whether
Yeah.
they're gonna make him permanent or they're still looking,
Oh, they have
is
to.
anyone's guess, but yeah.
Uh, I'm sure the Mariners fans would be hands down say just sign him up. Like
Yeah.
look what he's done taking over that first game they played Newcastle. I think everyone would have thought, bang, Newcastle going to but again, he galvanised the side, brought them all together. That's all you need. And look at the outcome now with now time with them. They're starting to build their football, and yeah, wow. What else? How else could they go wrong? Just appoint him and move forward, and just give some solidity and at least a vision going forward in the next 12 months.
Well, the thing is that, potentially, if you bring in another manager, it's got the chance to disrupt what's currently happening as
Oh,
well. Like,
absolutely.
while it might be your long-term appointment, yeah, what he's doing at the moment is pretty okay, I think. So, yeah, I guess we'll wait and see on, what happens there in a permanent space for the coaching role at the Mariners. Let's go to Saturday, mate. Big derby day across the A-League. Started with the New Zealand derby, and what a start to this game. Absolutely unbelievable. Wellington's high line caught out in the first minute. So Sam Cosgrove opened the scoring for Auckland in the first minute after springing Wellington's high line. So I tell you what, I was watching this game and I got my directions mixed up. I thought they were running the opposite way with the way that Auckland got in behind them so easily. Unbelievable way. But
What is it
then
with Wellington's high line? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've seen it against Perth as well. That is ridiculous. Like I don't know, mate.
it's
That
Spurs
was
v Chelsea, best
oh
nine man.
look, I just
That's what it is.
I am sure I'm not the only football fan looking at that and going, that is not right. If you just, for those who missed the Perth game, go rewind and watch the first 30 minutes where that high line was in show again and that first minute descent. Because honestly, that is just, yeah, that's not good. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
The
And
mind-boggling thing for me is that a lot of the times it's with no pressure on the ball at all,
uh,
which is
uh,
like 101 we're playing a high line. There's got to
oh,
be pressure on the ball.
it's got to be pressure.
Um,
Yeah.
it's it's very interesting to watch at the very least. Wellington did hit back. Very nice strike through Afanya Eze, leveling things up. Beautifully curled shot into the far post. The game was really end to end from that point. Tackles flying in, a bit of heat in the game. And then Auckland got through the high line again as Jesse Randall went in 1-on-1, scooped the ball over the keeper. I think the goal got credited to Sam Cosgrove, who I thought touched it over the line. But anyway, Jesse Randall might be disappointed in that one. And then the chaos ascended in the second half. Dan Hall sent off after just 4 minutes into the second half for denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity. And then Logan Rogerson was sent off for Auckland for a dangerous tackle in the 79th minute. So just 14 minutes after coming on off the bench. So yeah, crazy that Auckland finished with 9 men. Wellington completely dominated the second half. They had 72% possession. They had 14 shots to 1, but couldn't get a second goal against that resolute Auckland defence. So what a game that New Zealand derby was. Geez, just the I just love the banter between these two, the backwards and forwards, and what and what a great addition not only Auckland but this derby has become to the A League.
And Wellington's crowd, congratulations, over 12,000 with all the events that were on. It was great to see a great turnout, and they would have appreciated a great contest. Unfortunately, they didn't get the points, but they certainly took it up to Auckland, which, we know how superior side Auckland is, top of the table, and how hard they are to beat. They definitely did themselves proud, especially looking at last year's derby. So, Wellington, again, this was the true test for me with Wellington. Where are they at? And they certainly ticked that box for me.
All right, mate, let's go to the second derby of the day, the Melbourne derby. So Melbourne victory went down 2-0 to Melbourne City. Another really early goal in this one with City opening the scoring through Max Caputo after being slid in by Andreas Kuhn in the first minute. So two first-minute goals across the derbies on the Saturday. Nathaniel Atkinson was withdrawn in the 15th minute with a hamstring injury. And what about this introduction? 18-year-old Peter Antonio took his place. So Victory were very wasteful in front of goal, I have to say. They went into the sheds down 1-0, but very easily could have even taken a lead into the sheds at half time. City made change. Liam Bonity came on at half time, meaning Kai Truan pushed into midfield. And then what about Peter Antonio scored City's second 10 minutes into the second half when his on-track run was picked up by Takeshi Kanamori and he scored at the near post. So later on in the game, both teams had goals correctly ruled out for offside, and victory were again wasteful. One Master in particular had one that he definitely should have buried right at the end. But Patrick Beach, as you mentioned in our Socceroos review, again brilliant in goals for Melbourne City.
Yeah, I thought Melbourne City Portage goes to them. Back to the Future, their kids are absolutely nailing it, aren't they? They're just taking the opportunities of plum, and that's coming from a Asian Cup champions win midweek, and they just flew back. I think they said they come back at midnight on Wednesday or something, and had Thursday off, so they had hardly any time to recover. Straight into 1 day small tactic training, he said, and then Saturday into a derby. Oh, geez, they look tactically right. Yeah, they didn't have the best of play. I thought Melbourne dictated a lot of possession and a lot of football, but they were a lot more effective. And tactically in transition defensively, they were a lot better than what Victory were. I've seen a number of times when Victory had to track back, and they're all over the place, and five were still way behind the ball, and the other five were back there. And I just thought Melbourne City a much more well drilled team, and it showed on the pitch. I thought Melbourne Victory overplayed it. They overplayed the ball, played a good tempo, but just couldn't compose themselves, and they just kept pushing that extra ball, which was unnecessary. Put the other player under more pressure. When I thought that when they got in the final third, a lot of them were just should have taken the shot on, but again, just overplayed that final ball, put the player in a worse position, made it a bit more difficult for him. And I think this would be very disappointing from a Victory point of view, considering they had all the opportunities and to either equalise and get in front, but Caputo was just too smart with his run. And I think Melbourne Victory's defensive transition, it's just too one-dimensional, and it cost them. And Melbourne City were just a lot more effective with less of the ball, but I just can't believe how Victory had so much possession but had so little shots to Melbourne City. It was just unbelievable. I just couldn't believe that stat when I seen it.
I said to you during the game on Saturday night that it just looked like Melbourne City, all their players just knew where they needed to be, and it has to go back
Oh, spot
to
on.
the way that the majority of them have been brought through the academy, and
Yep.
it's just next man up for them, isn't it? It doesn't really matter, 16, 17, 18-year-old, doesn't matter who. They know that position, they know where to be, they know the way, the style, and that's what successful clubs are built around. That there's just the next player coming through. So it's all system based football. But look, credit to Melbourne City, they did deserve the win. Tell you what, Andrew Naboot coming back from injury as well. He's going to be a handful for some A League opposition. He's still got plenty of football in him. He obviously had that one ruled out for offside, but he also missed one he should have scored. But when he finds a bit of form as well, given the injuries they have, he's going to provide plenty of experience for those youngsters too.
Oh, mate, they did a great preseason signing and bringing a lot of these through the academy, and it just goes to show. Geez, I hope the Melbourne fan base, city base, gets stronger over time. And I'm sure watching this football team and watching the next generation come through, that deserves more people to watch it, because they're a really professional football team at such a young age. They're fantastic. Plaudits to City. They're in for a great year to back it up week by week. And geez, I really hope they can forge their way through this Asian Champions League, because they look confident. They look confident that that's where they belong, and that's a great trait to have going into such a high level of football, and then coming back to the A League and doing that to Victory. They Victory would be very. I know they're their neighbours and they lost a derby, but they would just look at that and go, "Wow, that shouldn't happen," but it did. And once again, Victory's inconsistency cost them.
Well, yeah, Victory have only beaten Perth so far this season. They've got a big game against Sydney FC coming up after the international break. So probably a bit of pressure on Melbourne Victory given where they're at as well. Let's talk about Sydney FC now, who had a 2-0 win over Macarthur the first game on Sunday. So with that win, they move up to second. That's their third win in a row. Performance that probably wouldn't set the world on fire, mate, but they created more, had more of the ball, and were pretty ineffective until Paul Ocon took charge.
Yeah, he put a you know put a great ball, much space on. Yeah, it was offered way too much space on the left hand side of the edge there, and put a great pinpoint cross into the box. Tassan to head home in the 76th minute. Then Iceman Joe Lolly finished a nice move in injury time. MacArthur a bit sluggish, probably for midweek Asia Championship too, but Rose had a great chance to equalise. And well, if you look at that chance, he probably should have finished, and he missed their moment. And Sydney take the points, and although not convincing, but effective enough at the end to control the game. Bulls sit ninth on 4 points and a way to improve Wellington after the break, while Sydney have the big blue in what surely will be another crucial game, considering Sydney have won 3 in a row now, and Victory will not be happy where their current position is.
Yeah, I think that's what you've got there is mainly the message from Sydney FC fans. It's like it's not the prettiest to watch, but they're getting the results, which is a long way from where they were last season. So I think while they're still picking up points, it's okay. But they do have a couple of big games coming up in that Big Blue and then the Sydney Derby after that one. So we'll see where they're at after that one. If they could win both of those, that's 5 in a row and they'd be absolutely flying. But who knows? Maybe Victory and Wanderers will turn up in those ones and they'll come crashing back to earth. But yeah, while it's going well, I think Sydney FC fans are feeling okay.
And Brisbane, Newcastle on the Sunshine Coast have Newcastle have most of the ball in possession, but lack the creativity and defensive nous that the Roar possesses in abundance. The Roar took the lead from a corner with a smart run by emerging young Socceroo Lucas Harrington and heading it nicely. Watch that name moving forward, Chief. The second goal also too was a penalty coolly converted by O'Shea, and a third by another young talent, 17-year-old McQuinn McNichol, after a smart run, beating the offside trap and putting in a bullet to beat the keeper. Some stats, though, Chief, tell me that they gave that as an own goal, but give the boy the goal. It was sensational. It just bounced back off the keeper. It's not an own goal for me. It's a goal, but I just want to point out that the young Joey McNichol, his goal rate, Chief, is a little ripper. He's scored for the under 17 Joey's 14 times in 14 matches, maybe one to watch for the radar. So Lucas Harrington, like we said, we've seen how well he's been performing for the under 20s at such a young age, and then obviously moving to, I believe, Charlotte, is it, in the summer? And also to McNichol, a little gem under the radar up there at Brisbane. If we go over to the other,
Colorado is Lucas
oh,
Harrington's team, Colorado Rapids.
Colorado, yeah. So they've got a great pick up there. Jeez, he shows a lot of maturity, that Harrington. He's going to be an absolute superstar. He's so composed. But Newcastle on the other half fell to the slower tempo and more effective use of the ball from the Raw. And really, Newcastle lack a general to me. They halt the aggressive Raw. It's just a great win in front of what was a fantastic crowd for Sunshine Coast, who turned out even in the poor weather, because it was pretty poor conditions up there, and they still turned out and watched the side. And well done to the travelling fans who also travelled down on the day.
And what a difference that Sunshine Coast crowd made. And I know there's like some grumblings about taking the game away from Brisbane and some other things, but just as a TV spectacle, watching that game and watching also Sydney FC play at Leichhardt with that full hill and plenty of fans, it just makes a huge difference to the product. So well done to both sets of fans for getting out there and supporting both of those teams. But for the Raw, I suppose they've kind of, and Phil Moss said this a couple of times in commentary, you've got to kind of win the battle to earn the right to play your football, and I think that came through for Brisbane. They were the ones that really wanted to win the ball, and then they ended up playing and probably felt that the Jets didn't do that. Probably right in terms of a general in the squad. They've got a lot of good ball players, but do they have that grunt that's going to get them across the line in these types of games? Maybe not. Maybe something that Milligan needs to look at.
Yeah, and I'm sure he will learn that as he watches throughout the A-League, different styles that they come up against and how teams are undoing them. But Val Canis, what a job he's done. God, he's got the mental nous up there, hasn't he? God, they looked super pumped. The Raw, they've brought the energy back, and geez, they're all in the fight, aren't they? And it's going to be very tough. We said Auckland would be tough to break down, but I'll tell you what, Val Canis, he doesn't like conceding, does he? He has got that team well set up. So well done, Val Canis. You're doing a fantastic job up there, and great to see Brisbane get some success. It's been a very dour time up there, and they're doing well. So fantastic result.
Well, they've still only conceded those two that they conceded over in Wellington through 4 games. So certainly a contrast to what they were receiving last season, that's for sure.
Oh, in the post-match report, he was still filthy that they conceded those goals. So I love it. Well done, Val Canis. He's a character, isn't he? I just love him. So well done.
It's good for the league. All right, let's finish off, mate, with a couple more. So the Australian Championship, let's go through these. Group A, we had Sydney Olympic drawing 3-3 with Moreton City. So Moreton City scored a dramatic stoppage time equaliser to rescue a point. The group actually looked quite different until that happened, but we'll go through the group standings in a sec. Ali Orga, he's absolutely on fire, scoring that's 5 goals in 5 games now for Sydney Olympic in the Australian Championship. And then in the other game in Group A, South Melbourne, they maintain their perfect record 5 wins from 5 with a 2-0 win over Broadmeadow Magic. Manuel Agek on the score sheet again. Broadmeadow Magic officially eliminated from the Australian Championship with this result. So, as I was saying before that Morton City goal, we were looking at Morton City and Sydney Olympic both being on 6 points coming into that last round, sitting in second and third spot. But now with that crucial point, Morton City do have the advantage. So, yeah, it was a huge goal, that one in stoppage time for Morton City.
Yeah, massive. So Morton City 7 points, and Sydney Olympic 4. So still got an opportunity. Depending on results next week. All right. Do you want to move on to Group B? We've got Heidelberg United drew 2-2 with Wollongong Wolves. You know, knocking them out of probably contention out of the top two. I know there's still a mathematical chance, but it would be disappointing for the Wolves as they had the lead twice before being pegged back. Alex Machado opened the scoring in the 3rd minute for the Wolves, but were pulled back by Marcus Humbert, cancelled it out in the 7 minutes later. In the second half, Wolves gun Lachlan Scott put the Wolves ahead in the 59th minute, giving the Wolves hope, but it was dashed by Jay McGowan, equalised in the 79th minute. And that's how it ended 2-2, with the Wolves likely out of contention with one round to play with a poor goal difference. And then South Hobart goes down to Marconi 2-0 at home, with Marconi all but securing top two finish and entry to the quarterfinal with one round to play. There is an 11-goal difference between Marconi and Wolves, keeping Marconi in the box seat when travelling to Wollongong next week. They'd need a miracle, Chief. Is it going to happen?
6-goal win, lock it in.
Well, get out in the crowd. I just do want to note news from the Wolves. They organised with Heidelberg to take their under-18s and under-16s team down on a bus down to play Heidelberg under-18s, under-16s. A fantastic initiative by both clubs, considering Wollongong's travel to Melbourne. And it was great to see the young fellas of the Wolves played both games in the 16s and 18s, and then support their Wolves in what was a cracking contest 2-2. So great initiative by Australian Championship sides, taking their younger players down for a friendly just before the game.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Great initiative. Let's go to Group C. Avondale edged Northwest Spirit 1-0, thanks to a goal through Bruno Fornaroli in the 45th minute to secure top spot with one game left. The New South Wales League champions are still in the hunt for second as they sit third, 1 point behind, and face Canberra, Croatia away, who also need a win to qualify. They'll have to rely on Preston not beating the already qualified Avondale in the last round. So an exciting finish into Group C. Let's have a look at the standings. So yeah, Avondale on 11 points, Preston on 6, Northwest Sydney on 5, and Canberra FC on 4. So plenty to play for, with 3 teams still in the hunt to grab that second spot in Group C.
Yep, definitely all to play for. As we go down to Group D, Sydney United lose 2-1 to RPA Leichhardt. Sydney United remain winless, obviously going down 2-1. Saya Kambuyashi opened the scoring for RPA before Michael Krizovic get one back for Sydney United. But just before half-time, Dreden Kelly scored the 3rd goal of the championship to secure a win. Metro Stars keep their dreams alive with a crucial 2-0 win over Bayswater, which keeps the group still open. And Bayswater will need a point maybe to qualify, and they'll have to do it against West RPR away in Sydney, while the Stars have a home game against United. They will kick off first on Sunday and then can sit back and watch on 4:30 to see where the outcome lays before both teams obviously come up against the same, and the group does go down to the last round to see who qualifies. So we just have a look. West Apia, Bayswater on 10, Metro Stars 7, and Sydney United obviously eliminated. So all to play for the 3 teams, with West Apia probably the advantage with the goal difference.
Yeah, I think a draw would suit West Apia and Bayswater probably in that one, but we'll see how that one plays out. Obviously, Metro Stars need to do the job against Sydney United in the first place, but very interesting final weekend of the group stage for the Australian Championship coming up. Let's touch on the A-League women's results from the weekend. Brisbane Roar beat Perth Glory 3-2. That's the second week in a row that Brisbane Roar have got a 3-2 result. Wellington Phoenix had a 1-1 draw with Canberra United. Obviously, that's Bev Priestman's first match in charge of Wellington Phoenix. Melbourne City, a thumping 4-0 win over Central Coast Mariners. Of course, that was a replay of the semi-final, that controversial one last season. What about the Mac attack up front? Mopper, Holly McNamara and Shelby McMahon both got doubles in this one. McMahon just 17 years old. Some saying she might be even a bolter for the Asian Cup squad. Tell you what, if she keeps up this form, she might well be. So be very interesting to watch that one. 14-year-old Willa Pearson starts again for Sydney FC. They had a 0-0 draw with Adelaide. And then in the final game of the round, Melbourne Victory beat Western Sydney Wanderers 4-1 with a hat-trick to American Kennedy Wyatt. I watched the highlights of this one, mate. She looked like an absolute handful, and I think she's going to score plenty of goals this season. That's 4 goals in 2 games for her to start the season.
Yeah, she's a great player. What a pickup, yeah. It's 4 goals in 2 games there. Yeah, right. Golden boot written all over her. It's off to a great start. And well done to all the girls. And team of the week, Chief time. Who have you got in your starting 11 this week?
Yeah, a tough one as always, but there were some standout performances. So the keepers ended up being quite a tough pick, actually, with Maddie Ryan performing well and obviously Mackenzie Arnold too. But Patrick Beach gets the nod for his Socceroos call-up and a couple of outstanding games for Melbourne City. Dylan Preyas, the Adelaide United player, plays at right back. How could we leave out Ivy Luik after winning in Sweden? Likewise, Steph Catley for her nomination for that FIFA Best 11. Callum Elder gets the nod at left back for his assist against for Derby against Blackburn. Paul Okonengsler had a great game in Sydney FC's midfield, as did Aidan O'Neill, who progressed in the MLS playoffs. Aidan Rusich keeps going from strength to strength for Heracles. And then it's all about the goal scorers up front. Luki Ivanovic, Max Caputo, and Ali Ogla for his 5 goals in 5 games in the Australian Championship. So did I miss any, mate? Who do you think I missed out of that?
Oh, mate, that's a fantastic 11. Great to see representation across all leagues. Yeah, that keeper one was a tough one, but yeah, Beachy, how could you not put him in there? Because obviously, congratulations on your first Socceroo call-up, son. Great to see some under 20s. Obviously, shine too, and a great Socceroo call-up too for Ocon. And just there, look, Maxi Caputo's first goal against Melbourne Victory in the derby wasn't that sweet. He's a dead set finisher, isn't he? And yes, all the rest of the players speak for themselves. And looks like a very exciting 11 that you've picked this week.
Yep, it's been another big week in Australian football, and we've got another big week coming up, obviously, with the Socceroos in action against Venezuela on Saturday morning. So it puts a lot of the men's competitions on hold, but our women's players will still be in plenty of action, with a lot of them getting towards the end of their season and other competitions like the WSL getting right into the middle of it. So we'll be keeping an eye on all of that throughout the week. And we'll be back on Sunday to do a review of the Socceroos game, plus touch on everything else that's happening as well, mate. Obviously, coming down to the last weekend of the Australian Championship for the group stage, so plenty happening as always.
Yeah, the local scene's certainly on fire, and we wish the Socceroos all the best and good luck to your teams playing abroad or at home this week if they're obviously playing with this international break.
Thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully back to normal schedule next week, and thanks for your company. In the meantime, enjoy football.